You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Ran across this over the weekend, was really interested by it. Brandon Marcello did a good job over at 247. And it's a transfer portal recap where they kind of put a metric to this net rating gain of who you lost, who you gained, and how you did in the portal. And Brandon's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Brandon, we appreciate it, man. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Really well. Can you first just start by explaining how you got to the number, like the metric that we see on the screen?
Yeah, I'm trying to be as scientific as possible in a unscientific world of sports.
Sure.
So I just took what our analysts at 24/7 Sports, their average player rating for every single player that left the team and the average rating for every player that joined the team in our transfer portal rankings at 24/7 Sports. And I just took the net difference between those two numbers. So you would probably want to add some type of element to the formula, a variable of sorts, considering not everybody brings in the same amount of players as they do that they lose. But it's still a closer metric, I believe, than what you just see in the transfer portal rankings, like, Colorado being number one. That doesn't take into fact that they lost 42 players to the portal.
Right.
So when I looked at this, I just decided I'm going to do it this way. I've been doing it for the last 3 years or so, and I think it's a little bit more of an accurate picture of just the quality of players that a team brings in while trying to make sense of the quantity aspect and the separate aspect of all.
What, when you looked at the SEC, and you did this for all the Power Four, by the way, so it's we're obviously in Baton Rouge, and a lot of people are focused on LSU and the SEC, but I have some other questions. But specifically with the SEC, what was the thing that jumped off the page as you crunched the numbers this year?
Yeah, well, number one, it's very hard to not actually upgrade your roster if you're a Power Four team in the portal, no matter what you lose as far as quality of players. Because the reality is, and no one really says this, but the reality is you are losing mostly depth pieces and backup players to the portal. You're just not going to lose a superstar player all that often unless you have a coaching change like an Alabama had recently. But having said that, these teams mostly upgrade. And very rarely does anyone in the Power Four actually downgrade their roster through the portal. And the same can be said in the SEC, where you go up and down the new look league right now, and more than half of the teams upgraded their roster by more than 1 point. So why is that a big issue, a big thing to really look at? Well, because in the transfer portal rankings, 1 point can be the difference between being a 4-star guy and a 5-star guy, or a 3-star guy to a 4-star guy. And so for that matter, when you look at it, at our top, 8 or 9 teams in the SEC, they're averaging blue chip type players, 4-star type players when they bring in, which is substantial compared to obviously the rest of the sport.
Brandon Marcello is with us, national college football reporter for 24/7 Sports. He's on Twitter at @bmarcello. This is the SEC transfer portal or college football transfer portal recap for the Power Four. Bama was dead last in the SEC, the only school that had a negative rating. That caught my eye. What do you make of it, if anything?
Yeah, it's very slight too, right? It's only minus 0.48 points, which is half a point. And you got to consider they lost 40 players. They only brought 15 in, so that's a substantial widened gap. But that's not in consideration in this rating. I think what's most shocking about all this is that they lost 40 players, but their average rating was still super high at 90.55. That tells you that they didn't just lose a lot of guys, but they lost 4- and 5-star type players from high school ranks all the way up over the last 2 to 3 years that they've developed in that program. And of course, as we all know, they were really hit hard in the secondary, which is not all that surprising since that was Nick Saban's pet project back there. He had 11 departures from the secondary this year, including, of course, Caleb Downs going to Ohio State. Now, Alabama was able to, fill some holes there. They're still going to be a top 10 team, top 5, maybe top 8 team in the rankings of the preseason because that program was absolutely stacked. And I would argue that there's maybe 3 or 4 programs that could have taken a hit in the portal like they did this year and still be a ranked team, someone substantial in that aspect. And that's Bama, Georgia, and probably Ohio State. Those are the only programs out there, when I look at the depth piece of it, could take a big hit like Alabama and still be standing tall in the preseason.
Thoughts on LSU?
LSU kind of did what they needed to do. I think the thing with LSU, though, is that in the offseason, we just saw some of the big names leaving, whether through the NFL or to the portal, and I think everybody grouped them all together thinking, oh, boy, they took a big hit. But I think what LSU's really trying to do is they're trying to go out and get the high school kids, bring them there, and develop them, right? So they lost 27 guys to the portal this year. They only brought in 9, but the net rating gain for them was plus 1.58, which ranks 8th in the SEC right now. I thought they did a really good job in getting a safety out there, and Gilbert from Texas A&M. I think C.J. Daniels is the guy to really keep an eye on there at receiver. I don't think he's getting enough talk outside the state of Louisiana right now. But again, it's all going to come down to the depth pieces. Does all those departures, the 27 guys, and the 18-player differential there in the portal, does that hurt the depth piece for them going into this season against that schedule?
Brandon, as you put all these numbers together in the Power 4, was there one school, maybe more than any other, that caught your eye for one reason or another, good or bad?
Ohio State. I knew they did a good job in the portal. I didn't realize how good of a job they did. They are by far number 1 in the country in differential. I'd have to pull it up right now to see what the exact score was, but it was over plus 5 points.
Yeah, 5.62.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm telling you, if they don't make a run in the playoff this year, that staff is going to be under so much fire. That fan base is going to be livid. I don't know if you make changes up at the top, but they have built that program to be a championship-type team. They need to be in the Big Ten hunt. They need to beat Michigan. They need to be a playoff team, and they need to make a run into the playoff and maybe win the national championship. They have done everything right in recruiting, everything right in the portal, and you go hire Chip Kelly as your offensive coordinator. Boy, you better go win and win big this year. The pressure is on.
I guess the only thing that motivates Ohio State boosters more than losing is Michigan winning. Is that a fair way to say it?
Oh, absolutely. And, I mean, can you imagine not only losing to Michigan again in back-to-back-to-back years, but to do so against a whole new coaching staff? With all that talent they left, I think that would be enough that they would be able to, talk themselves into making a change with Ryan Day, even if he were to win 10 or 11 games again this year.
He is Brandon Marcello, national college football reporter for 24/7 Sports, on Twitter at @BMarcello. Y'all give him a follow. Hey, we'll see you up in Dallas here next month for Media Days, yeah?
Yeah, I can't wait. All-Star Week, too. I can't believe it.
I know. We kind of lucked out with a lot going on there. Man, we're looking forward to it. And we just missed the Tyson fight as well. The Tyson-Jake Paul fight was supposed to be the Saturday after Media got moved, so it was going to be there in Arlington at Jerry World. So I was actually planning on staying and trying to go to the fight, but I guess Tyson got sick and they moved it. So yeah, a lot going on in Dallas around this time.
Well, we can drink we can mix some vodka with prime drinks at night and celebrate the Paul family.
Looking forward to it, man. Hey, thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
All right, see you, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.